attended the online Using Social and Media Insights to Address the Coronavirus webinar hosted by Adweek. I decided to look into the coronavirus because I'm interested in looking at all the different facets of this unprecedented crisis, especially the social media aspect, because that's primarily what I'm looking to go into once I graduate. For this webinar, there were two presenters. The first one was Mike Bagoletto, the Senior Director of Product Marketing for NetBase Quid, and Zachary Messenberg, the Director of Professional Services, also for NetBase Quid. And they broke the presentation down into 5 pieces. Now, the first piece of this is leveraging conversations to real-time insights. Basically, this is talking about understand what is going on, and these are 5 steps that you can take to understand that. The first one is to discover. So identify what is going on in the marketplace. What are people talking about? And then define different analysis structures utilizing the different topics, themes, and analytics to be able to answer the top questions that people want to know. And then build on this. Create different things, educational things for people to be able to read and understand better. Also, analyze the trends. Have an understanding of what is going on, how often people are talking about things, and then monitor them. Once you've analyzed them, make sure you keep up with what they are talking about, and you continue to monitor those different channels and what has been going on with that. With the unpredictability of the coronavirus, it's very important to stay up on what people are talking about and those different trends. Now, this is moving us into the first subgroup within this, which is healthcare trends. While healthcare has been going through a lot of different changes lately and it's looking a lot different, people are talking about a couple of different things, but those are changing. For example, a few weeks ago, people were talking about social distancing as well as the proper way to wash your hands. And now, more recently, people have been mainly talking about vaccinations or treatments for COVID-19. While they're still talking about those other things, they're not talking about them as much. Also, tracking the headlines that have to do with healthcare. Being aware of the changes so you know how to best market your company and talk to your customers. So understanding the topics that people are discussing within healthcare, as well as the different hashtags people are using. So whenever COVID-19 first started, they used the hashtag COVID-19. People can do a quick search on that on different social media sites, as well as a quick Google search, and it will pull up all sorts of different news stories, and it just helps keep you connected to your employees. Next, they talk about retail trends. So they're not talking so much, besides healthcare, they're mainly talking about retail. And there's a more variety of things they're talking about within this subcategory. They're talking about the retail hoarding, furloughed workers, as well as customer and employee safety. So we're looking at essential businesses versus non-essential. There's been a lot of confusions due to conflicting definitions on what exactly an essential business is. They're also talking about the power that the governors have, whether or not they have the authority to do mandatory stay homes for people or label something an essential or non-essential business. And also be aware that safety challenges have been really huge lately, and small things that seem very inconsequential can snowball very quickly. An example of this is if you have an employee who is coughing and a customer sees that, the customer then makes a complaint. If they go online and complain about that, it can turn into a whole blowout and just feed into this hysteria that we are trying to stay away from. Next, we are talking about restaurants, the restaurant trends. This is the point in the presentation where they started running really short on time, so they just hit the high points. Mainly, this is only talking about the transition to going to delivery only, as well as to-go orders. So for those restaurants that did not close down altogether and decided to try to stay open, how they are handling the delivery and the to-go, how they are keeping their employees safe as well, keeping them social distancing and proper cleanliness and all of that. Lastly, we're going to talk about moving beyond COVID-19. So it's still related, but it's mainly talking about how we are going to work within the new normal that people are talking about. This is for companies to better address their employees mainly. So the biggest thing is to establish deliberate processes and connect teams with the information as quickly as possible. A couple tips on ways to do this is to be agile and more responsive. Move quickly. If you have a piece of information, share that with your employees. But also, if you have something going on that you need to talk to them about, if you can send it in an email, you don't need to have a meeting, send it in an email, just make it easier on everyone. I like what they said, what the presenters said when they said deep dives are less useful than quick hits. So you don't need to have hours-long meetings necessarily for every little thing that you might meet with in person if you still worked in a building. Also, give your employees confidence and examples, as well as things that you are doing well. So we did X and therefore Y happened, giving them those details, letting them know how they are benefiting and what is going well. Also, another fun little tidbit is to really try to connect with old colleagues. Networking is extremely important even before COVID-19 happened, but now you can really utilize the connections that you've made, especially with people in other industries, and learn their stories, know what's going on with them. That way they are able to better give you a picture of what's happening rather than just reading about it in the media. This helps give you a more well-rounded understanding of what's going on, and maybe it will help someone else in the future as well. Overall, I really enjoyed listening to this presentation from these two people. I had never heard of the company they represented before, but I think that they gave a lot of good information that we talked about in this class as well. Thank you.